Everyone, welcome to the show. I have really interesting news, very kind of exciting news to share. As you guys know, I am a big focus group podcast type of person. I'm a big fan of focus groups, and I have been following Engageus for quite a while. So they've gotten more attention on mainstream media over the last few days because they just released two focus groups with Michigan swing voters. These are people who voted for Biden in 2020. They went for Trump in 2024. And the results are exactly what I was expecting, that people are starting to really question their decision to vote for Trump. Now, the media has left out a lot of details. They focused on a few highlights, but that was pretty much it. Well, I sat and I listened to, it was probably about 2 hours or more worth of focus group, and I took a lot of notes. So I have a lot to share with you guys that you probably have not heard. One thing that really stood out was that the words dictator, dictatorship, chaos, things like that were used over and over and over again. And again, these are people who voted for Trump in 2024. So here's the breakdown of this group. One person said they are a registered Democrat. Four of them say that they are Republicans, and eight are independents. The top emotion was a key point. They asked, what is the top emotion that you feel, meaning these participants, when you see Trump on TV? So not what you think he is displaying, but what he makes you feel personally. Two of them said they were concerned. Two said they were anxious. One said confused. Another said fear. One said intrigued. Another said interested. There was confident, curious, nervous, trepidation, and worried. So overall, not good, not good emotions. They also asked, what is either a word or a phrase that you would use to describe Trump's first 2 months in office? The answers to this were similar, not so great. Three said chaos, two said busy, two said erratic, one said active, one said stood on business, and he clarified he means like he's getting stuff done. One said eventful, two said controversial, and then another said aggressive. So not really what you'd be hoping for after 2 months. They also asked, what is the latest Trump action that you heard of? One of them said, talk of lethal injection changes. Six said tariffs. Again, not good, since that's not a good thing. Another said mass deportations and revoking of visas. Two of them said they heard about that blow up that he had with Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine. Another said they heard about somebody getting the death penalty, or Trump wanting to impose the death penalty if you kill an officer, which is really ironic considering that he pardoned all of the January 6 people, including the ones who were most horrifically violent to the police. But anyway, I digress. Another said that they had heard about the shutdown of the Department of Education. Another said that they heard about government offices closing in Michigan, which would be affecting jobs. And again, remember, these are Michigan participants, Michigan people who swung from Biden to Trump. They also asked, do you approve or disapprove of the Trump administration? This is where it gets really dicey for Trump. Only 3 out of the 13 said, yeah, I approve. I approve of what he's doing. 10 out of the 13 obviously said, no, I disapprove. And then they asked them, okay, why? If you disapprove or if you approve, what are your reasons? A few people offered up their examples and reasons. So on the disapprove side, two of them said he's being too aggressive. One said he's acting like a dictator. Some people said that they thought that he was going to make things cheaper. He was going to improve the economy, but he appears to be going in the opposite direction. Another one said he's erratic. One said, I am afraid now. I'm scared now to watch the news. I'm becoming anxious. Again, this is what we lived through the first 4 years. Another one said, cost of living is still too high. He's not doing anything about it. He's not doing anything to lower prices. Another said he is disruptive. He's creating chaos. They also cited the fact that he campaigned on lowering prices, and they believe he's moving in the opposite direction. Another said that she is specifically seeing a decline in her local economy. And she said she's a business owner and this is getting really scary. Another one said, I'm not a fan of treating people poorly. And, I feel like he's wiping away the foundation of the US. Another said that his actions are impacting the US negatively. So not good at all. On the approve side, which again, it was only 3 people who approve of him. They gave answers like, oh, he's putting America first. He's making changes, which, he said he was going to do. He's shaking things up. Some of them qualified their answers and said, look, I don't agree with everything he's doing, but he is doing something and that's better than nothing. And then the moderator said, look, it would be normal for people watching this to say, you saw him, you watched his whole first 4 years, you voted for Biden because of Trump's first 4 years, presumably, and then you went back to Trump. So what did you think? Why are you surprised if you're one of these people who disagrees and dislikes what he's doing? Why are you surprised by this? Well, one person said, and a couple agreed with them, that I didn't think that he was going to be this aggressive. Or one of them actually said, I don't remember him being this aggressive in his first term. Now, she was young. At least she looked pretty young. So it's possible, as I've mentioned before, that she wasn't really paying attention or was like, she knew about Trump, but it was on the peripheral and she wasn't really affecting her life at that time. Because remember, we're talking about 9 years ago, and then other people said, well, I just remember the economy doing better in the first term. And, now we're seeing this significant decline. And so, yeah. Another person said, well, I thought he would make positive financial decisions, but that's not happening. Another one or two actually mentioned, I kind of went with the devil that I knew versus the devil I didn't know, meaning Kamala Harris. And this one woman who mentioned this, she was surprisingly, it was a Black woman. And she said, well, I had to make a decision between the devil I knew, the devil I didn't. And she admitted her husband, she didn't flat out say it in these words, but she intimated that her husband kind of pressured her, that her husband was voting for Trump and he kind of led the way and, put, I don't know if it was pressure, but she said, I did what was best for my household or my family. Anyway, again, a bunch of them said, he just is not doing what he campaigned on. And so that's why I'm surprised, which again, it's like you saw his first 4 years, the guy is a liar. And logically, you have to ask yourself, what is it that a president can do really to impact pricing? I mean, other than tanking the economy, which is what he's doing now, that does put downward pressure on pricing, but not in a good way. So they also asked, okay, if you could ask Trump one question, what would it be? One of them said, what is your long-term goal? What's your plan to fulfill your campaign promises? Another one asked, when are you going to start doing what you promised on the campaign trail? Another said, I would ask him, how are you going to make things cheaper? Again, He can't. Because you guys said you don't like socialism and communism. So guess what? We live in a capitalist society. So yeah, kind of not within a president's purview, which is why it was so ridiculous for everybody to blame Biden for things being so high. They also, another one said I would ask him about his plans for the job market and economic growth. Another said, what is your end game? What is your objective? Another said, I would ask him, what are you going to do for low income households? And another said, I would ask, what possessed you to think that you could buy Greenland? That seemed to be a big thing. Like these people are very upset that he's focused on taking control of Greenland, taking over Canada, all these renaming the Gulf of Mexico. They're like, why? These are ridiculous things. And he's focusing on these instead of doing what we need. Another one of these people said they would ask him, do you think you're making a good impression on the world stage? And, she said it's a big deal to her that Trump seems to be going after all of our allies and just pissing people off and just trying to almost like flex his muscles instead of trying to get things done. Another said they would ask, when will the economy bounce back? One said, why are you trying to rewrite our Constitution? So again, this was a focus of at least a few of them off the top of my head that I remember, that they feel like he is doing things in absolute violation of the Constitution, trying to push boundaries and things that are going to undermine the fabric, the foundation of America, which I agree with. He 100% is. And that's why we tried to warn these people, don't go back to him, because that is exactly what he's going to do. That is exactly what it says in Project 2025. So shame on all of them for not paying attention and not reading it. They also, in this focus group, asked them, do you think Donald Trump is doing too much, not enough on core issues, or, do you think what he's doing is okay? 12 out of the 13 said no, he is not doing enough to handle the core issues and why I voted for him, which for the most part, all of these people said it was the economy. Then they asked, okay, what should he be focused on versus what you think he's focused on? And they posed it as fill in the blank. I wish he would be more focused on X. However, he seems more focused on Y. So 2 of them said they wish that he would be more focused on fulfilling working class promises, less on cutting ties with other countries and trying to leave his mark by renaming things. Another said, I wish he was more focused on jobs and the economy and less on gaining respect or fear on the international stage. And then all 7 said they want him to focus, or 7 out of the 13, I should say, so that they want him to focus more on the economy, lowering prices. They feel like he's trying instead to make people mad or to be controversial. They also asked, okay, what is your top issue in the news? What do you see as going on currently in the news and is a major issue? The answers they gave were chaos, recession, affordability, nuclear war. 3 of them mentioned jobs. 1 said inflation. Another said economy. 1 said trade war. Another said inequality. Another said tariffs. And 1 said World War III. So again, not the types of words and phrases you want to hear if you want people to think that you're doing a good job. Then they asked, okay, did you watch the State of the Union address? 4 out of the 13 said, yeah, I at least watched part, or 1 said I watched all of it pretty much. They kind of taught, one of them kind of talked in circles and ended up saying, I wasn't really pleased. 1 said that they were embarrassed by it, and this was one who said she's a Republican, but she blamed the Democrats. She said, yeah, it's kind of cringe sometimes when Trump talks and things that he says, but overall, she thought his speech was okay. But the way that the Democrats handled themselves was just horrible on the world stage. It's like, really, we're not in a normal moment here. Another one said they thought Trump was cringy and that he spent most of his time in that speech talking about unimportant items, that he was talking himself up too much. Another said that they thought the speech was good and they also didn't like what the Democrats did. Of course, he was a Republican male, major Trump humper in this group. And then they asked, okay, do you agree? First of all, they played a clip of Donald Trump speaking at the State of the Union for people who may not have heard it. And they said, in this clip, I should say, Donald Trump mentioned, oh, this is the most successful first month in office for any president in history. So they played that clip and they said, do you agree? None of them, 0 out of 13 agreed. And that includes 2 men in these focus groups who were massive Trump humpers. Elon Musk's actions were also brought up. They asked them, do you approve or disapprove of what Elon Musk is doing? Only 2 out of the 13, the 2 Trump humpers, approve. 10 out of the 13 disapprove. And one of them who approved is absolutely uninformed, had no idea what Musk is doing, what Doge is doing, basically didn't even know that he had brought on board all of these 20-something-year-olds to handle all this stuff, didn't know that they were firing people left and right without, any kind of reasoning behind it. Other people who didn't like or don't like what Doge and what Musk are up to said things like, oh, nobody elected him. This is making the US like a reality TV show. Some people questioned, is he actually the one running the country? Is Donald Trump even in charge? They said, I don't understand the goal. They mentioned that he's laid off too many people. They don't think that he understands the difference between how the government works and the private sector. So overall, not good for Doge and Musk. They also played a short clip of Alyssa Slotkin and her response to Donald Trump's State of the Union. And in particular, they played a clip showing her talking about Musk and about Doge and how, they're going in there and getting access to people's private information. And it's a bunch of, 20-something-year-olds, and none of these people have been vetted. And they asked them, do you agree with her? Well, as you now probably can gather, 11 out of the 13 said, yes, I agree with her. They said, I don't like him getting access to our private data. They didn't like the lack of oversight. Of course, again, the same 2 disagreed. And like I said, one of them, he disagreed, but then he admitted, oh yeah, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that they, all these people were like 20-something years old. And then they mentioned, or they asked him, what do you think about what she said about them firing people and then having to bring them back because, they made a mistake, and he wasn't even aware of that. So this is my issue. This is what drives me up the freaking wall. I don't mind people having an opinion on something if it's an educated opinion. If you know what you're talking about, by all means, share your opinion. But when you don't have a freaking clue, when you're not even paying attention, and then you want to come in and spout off like you're the fountain of knowledge and you've got it all figured out, just shut up. Just shut up. Your opinion doesn't matter because it's not based on fact. It's not based on all of the facts. So this guy just drove me up the wall. Like, it was so obvious from his answers, and this is a black man, by the way, that he just went along with the crowd. he made it clear all of his family was voting for Trump. And so he knew nothing. He's freaking clueless on how Trump's administration is going to impact his life in a negative way. So he's just part of the sheep, just part of the flock. The second man, again, one of the two Trump pumpers, he also, of course, disagreed. The guy is just, you could tell from his answers, not the brightest bulb. I'm just going to leave it there. They also asked them, okay, did any of you vote for Alyssa Slotkin? Because again, this is their senator, right? This is Michigan. And so surprisingly, 7 out of the 13 voted a split ticket. They voted for Slotkin and then they voted for Trump for president. 2 of them said, I can't actually remember. I think I voted for her, but I'm not sure. So it may have even been more. Then they asked them, why? Why are you voting for the Democrat for Senate and then voting for Trump? Several of them said, well, I didn't want another 4 years of Biden, but I'm okay with her. So this is why we needed a primary. This is exactly why we needed a primary, because these people may have gone for another Democrat, but they looked at Kamala Harris, and they made this clear in their statements. They looked at Kamala Harris as an extension of Biden and just the same shit that they had been dealing with in their minds for 4 years. They looked at Biden as a failed president, and they didn't like how things were under his leadership. And because, as we're learning now, Biden did not allow Kamala Harris to break away from him on any issues, he purposely, and specifically told her, no daylight between us, gave her that order before she went and had her debate with Trump. Because she was not able to break with him, people saw her as just a continuation of the previous 4 years. So we needed a primary. We needed somebody to step out of that, Biden shadow and break with him. And Kamala was not able to do it, or she refused to do it. They also asked them, okay, given everything you said, you guys are really down on Trump, the majority of you. If you could do it over again, if you had your vote to do over again, would you vote now for Kamala Harris? Sadly, only 1 out of the 13 said yes. 2 out of the 13 said, I'm on the fence. Maybe, maybe not. But the rest of them, it's very clear they're taking a wait and see approach. They, whether they don't want to admit that they made a mistake, which I don't think that that's the case with these people, because they did step up and they were okay with putting their face on camera and, putting their thoughts out there. And they were very critical of him. But I think a lot of his voters are going, well, let's see. I'm willing to give him a chance. It's not going the way that I thought it would, but it's only been 50 days or 55 days, whatever it is. Let's just see. And then I'll make a decision. So if he goes down this road further, if he keeps going down this road that he's already on, he's screwed. People are not going to be happy, and they are going to regret their vote. And I would say that's going to really have a significant backlash against the Republicans in the midterms. Then they also asked them, which is very interesting, asked them for their thoughts on this issue of I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but there's a lawsuit going on because Donald Trump signed an executive order. And I mentioned this in another video last week, but he signed this executive order taking away certain access from a law firm called, I think it's pronounced Perkins Coie, Coie. Anyway, took away their ability to access records that are, and maybe under not executive order, but what am I trying to say here? Records that you are required to have security clearance. So he stripped them of their security clearances. He said they're not allowed into certain government buildings. Well, this particular law firm, they work with government employees. I mean, that's who they service. That is their main clientele. So taking these things away from them is like a death knell for the law firm. And so this is being adjudicated. A judge has said, I mean, this is chilling. This is horrific. This is like a violation of First Amendment rights. And he's doing this because they worked with Democrats, because they were involved in some lawsuits against him when he was out of office, and worked on behalf of Democrats. Well, only one person out of all 13 even knew about this. So none of them fully approved of this. However, as with the rest of it, the two Trump humpers were like, well, maybe, I don't know, I think that this article you read us is, a little, it's biased and I'd have to hear more. And, this might not be as bad as they're making it sound and blah, blah, blah. Maybe Trump knows that they did something illegal. So more than not, these people are like, no, this is psycho. This is authoritarian. This is another dictatorship, issue. So yeah, not popular. Then they also asked them about Trump banning the Associated Press from the White House briefings because they refused to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Well, 5 out of the 13 heard of this action, and all 13 said, no, this is wrong. And unequivocally, even the 2 Trump pumpers said, no, this is wrong. So then they asked them, are you more afraid to fly right now than you were like a couple months ago when Donald Trump first took office? 10 out of the 13 said, yes, I am more afraid to fly than I was before. And then they asked them, are you more or less anxious about the economy since Trump took office? This is really, really important. Only 2 out of the 13 said, I am less anxious. And one of them is a Republican, and she admitted that she doesn't really understand everything that Trump is doing. So maybe if she did understand, she would be more anxious. 11 out of the 13 said, yeah, I'm more anxious. So, and one of those was one of the Trump pumpers. And they cited job loss. They cited recession concerns. One of them, which I mentioned, is a business owner. She said she's been hearing of more and more people losing their jobs, people who are clients. And so she said that is going to directly impact her business. So then they asked, has Trump made fighting inflation his top priority? None of them, 0, said yes. Even the 2 Trump pumpers said, no, this is not his focus. So again, he keeps going down this road, he's going to lose all of them. They also asked, are you concerned about the tariffs? 12 out of the 13 said yes. One woman said, I've actually been laid off because of the tariffs and because of worry. She works in the automotive industry. And she said, auto production has just dropped. It's just down and companies are worried. And so, yeah, I got laid off as a result. So she voted against her own best interest there. She got laid off because of Trump. They also showed a clip of the Canadian Premier, Doug Ford, and they asked, is he correct in retaliating against the U.S.? And 9 out of the 13 said, yes, he is. So, not 100%, but the majority said, yeah, I mean, he's protecting his country. Trump is going after him. He's doing what he's got to do. And then they asked, did you just not take Trump seriously when he talked about tariffs? And one of them said, well, I didn't think it would be blanket tariffs. I thought that he would have a plan. It would be more targeted. Another one said that they thought there would be checks and balances on him. Also, they thought that there were, he was going to issue threats of tariffs just to start negotiations. And then, some just clearly did not understand what tariffs are. They did not understand that tariffs impact Americans and how the cost is passed along to us. They also, this is very interesting, they also asked them, have any of you seen Congress do anything to impose a serious check on Trump's power? 2 out of the 3 of the 13 said yes, but they each then, offered up very incorrect information. So the moderator of these groups said, okay, what have you seen Congress do? And they brought up court cases that are not brought by Congress. Like they obviously do not understand that that's not what Congress does. Congress doesn't file lawsuits against the president. So they think that Congress is filing lawsuits against him. Again, we're dealing with people who are highly misinformed or uninformed. They also asked, are you concerned about Congress not acting to try to stop Trump and be a check on his power? 11 out of the 13 said, yes, I am concerned about that. The 2 Trump pumpers, of course, no problem. Totally fine with Donald Trump having excess power and no checks or balances. Then they asked, who believes that Donald Trump would defy a court order? And they gave a hypothetical saying, okay, Supreme Court, some lawsuit makes it all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, no, you cannot do this, Donald Trump. This is clearly in violation of the Constitution. How many of you think that it is in the realm of possibility that Donald Trump would defy the Supreme Court? All 13 said, yes, I can see Donald Trump doing that. So the fact that they all know who he is, they all know what he is, they all know that he is someone with such an authoritarian streak that he would defy the Supreme Court of the United States, and they voted for him anyway, it shows that these people were reckless, they were irresponsible, and they were completely selfish. And they talked about, options like, okay, what would happen? And they were like, oh, well, he should be impeached. He should be removed from office. He should go to jail. And the moderator explained to them why none of that is feasible, why none of that can possibly happen. And they were all, a lot of them were just dumbfounded, like, oh, gosh, I never thought about that. Yeah, I know. I know. Guys, I was watching all of this and screaming, I'm telling you. They also showed photos of Trump wearing the crown where, it said, long live the king. And then the post about Donald Trump saying that he who saves the country does not violate any laws. And they asked, are any of you concerned about this? 11 out of the 13 were concerned. So I'll give you, 3 guesses as to who the 2 were that weren't concerned. I think you all know now. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of very interesting details, very clear that, again, if Donald Trump does not change course, he is going to lose a ton of support that he gained in the 2024 election that he had already lost in 2020. And then these people ignorantly went right back to him, went back to the abusive husband. So I just don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Anyway, guys, I'll keep you posted. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.